I clicked the wrong button. There we go. Hi, everybody. We are back with another episode of Tales from the Tavern. I have such a great group. I'm so excited to have these people here. We have questions that are like pouring in already. So I'm just going to go right in and I'm going to have everybody go around and introduce themselves and give us a little about who they are and what they do and where we can find them on the internet. And so actually we're going to start with B. And then we'll continue around. So go ahead, B. Tell us a little about you.
Okay, hi. I'm B. I'm 21. I go by He Hit, and I wrote a TTRPG last summer. I made the World of Your TTRPG. It's a combat-free, rules-light system that's all about like traveling with your friends in a magical world. It was really made in response to everything that was going on, the lack of being able to do things that go outside. And, one of the nice things we did with World of Your was everything about the game is free. It's all on a Google Drive link. Every book I've written like 5 at this point. Multiple campaigns and setting books, all for free. And now we're starting to roll them out on itch. It's pay what you want. We have a Patreon that lets people support us, and we host a podcast where I run the system for some friends who helped me make the system in the first place. And we're taking our own adventures going through that as well. It's really fun. I've gotten to be on some really awesome projects with World of Your, meet some really cool people.
Awesome.
Otherwise, I do D&D campaigns, and the Frostwalkers was also mixing for a while.
Well, very cool. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I know we've tried to coordinate this a few times. I'm glad it finally worked out. Also, chat loves your hat, so they are fans, and Nick says he loves your game. So
thank you.
All right, next we'll head down to Lex.
Hi, I'm Lex, or call me they. Basically everywhere else on the internet. I tweet too much. I have far too many opinions. I make content for D&D 5th edition, and I have a YouTube series called Backstory and Chill, where I have an artist friend do speed draws of characters, and I narrate and tell a story about said character as the art is being shown. And I go over what that build might be like to help DMs or players come up with new ideas or NPCs.
Awesome. I love it. I've checked it out before. It's very fun.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And I'm glad we were able to get you on too. It's so fun. Like I was saying before the stream, it's always really fun when I can finally put a face to a name. So I'm excited. I'm excited to have you here. And then we'll head over to Matt, who is another person that I've been trying to get on forever.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming. Thanks for having me on, Luna, and hi to everybody. I am also somebody who spends a little too much time on Twitter, but it's a lot of fun. It helps take the stress of the day off, you know. But yeah, I'm Matt. I'm half of Roleplay Chat, which is a podcast where two game masters, me being one of them, just sit down, have like a campfire chat about systems, about games, about roleplay, and kind of come up with strategies to try and get better at roleplay as a player or as a game master. So we have a lot of fun, and that's why I'm super pumped to be on the show, because this sounds exactly like it's right up my alley. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm excited. Your podcast is like on my list of ones that I really want to like dive into and start listening to all of them. So I'm getting there. It's on the list.
No pressure. No pressure. You do you.
Well, thank you for making time in your schedule. And Seth, we'll head to you next.
Hello, everybody. My name is Seth, and I'm from Cheaper by the Dungeon. If you can see, we just launched merch, and I'm really excited about it. But yeah, Cheaper by the Dungeon, D&D 5th Edition podcast. I'm the DM. It's a crazy treasure hunting adventure filled with musical numbers and crazy chaotic rabbits that mess up all my plans. It's a lot of fun. So yeah, that's where I'm from.
Awesome. And Seth has been here before. It's been a little hot minute, but you know, we're glad to have you back.
Feels good to be back.
I know.
Right in my little cubby hole.
We saved it for you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, nobody better have been in this spot.
Ben definitely was not in that spot.
Perfect.
Ben, tell us a little about you.
Hey everybody, I'm Benjamin. You can find me on Twitter at TTBenjamin1. I'm going to try to get this all out as fast as I can, so we're going to practice my fast talking. I am the producer and dungeon master for the Lawful Great Adventures podcast, a Pathfinder 1st Edition actual play that's been running for a little bit over a year. We are narrative and immersive, so our goal is to get in and stay in as much as possible. A lore-rich story about 4 friends on a long journey home. I'm also pretty busy elsewhere in the space. On this very network, I play the fast-talking, uber-confident, super naive, wunderkind pilot Jaber Valjean on Ripples in the Gray. You can see that on Tuesdays, hosted by Atomic. I'm also on Roll for Chaos's Sparrow stream on Friday, where I play the character Red Iron, a Lezerin who thinks they can talk to machines. They cannot. In addition, I have read all of Lex's tweets, and I have been on every tabletop talk show. I have been on all of them. If I have not been on yours, then you are obligated by law to DM me immediately so that we can arrange a booking.
It's true. He has read all of Lex's tweets because I've seen him respond to all of Lex's tweets.
It's true.
And do you know how I know that? Because I one day during the pandemic, when I had nothing better to do than read Twitter, set up alerts for his tweets, and I'm like, that's a response to Lex, that's a response to Lex, that's a response to Lex. And then I went, yeah, we're gonna turn those off. All right, so we are going to dive right in. Like I said, we've gotten a bunch of questions already, and Benjamin, we're actually going to start with yours because you were the first one to get it into chat. So usually I throw out a question that's just something super basic to get the conversation rolling. But because we've had so many come in already, and I want to make sure we have time to answer as many as we possibly can and have some good conversation around them, we're going to dive right in. If you have a question for anybody here, feel free to drop it in chat. One of our moderators will make sure that I get it so we can talk about it. And don't forget, too, we have the Ask My Question Next using channel points. So if you want to use that, there's 3 of them available every night. You can use that, and we will bump your question up to the very next one in the queue. So there you go. So Benjamin would like to know, who are your go-to NPC archetypes that you just palette swap over and over again?
Ooh.
I can kick this one off because this was from we were joking about this in the green room right before the show. But basically, I have like 6 NPCs that I just always palette swap. I've got excited youth who's really enthusiastic about one really specific thing and will do anything the party says, even into his own death. I have a fatherly Russian voice, whom the party decides is their dead. I've got gruff southerner who the party disrespects, and then who disrespects the party, and then eventually they come around to each other. And then I
know who that one is!
I know, right? I have deeply sexy but also brooding bad guy who uses a lot of vocal fry at the end of everything that he says. And then I've got a few others.
I love
Awesome.
Oh. Aaron says busy flashbacks to various characters these voices were. Yep.
One of my go-to NPC archetypes is the villain that is absolutely too overconfident in anticipation of the party getting the better of them, so I can play an overconfident person being absolutely flabbergasted they've been defeated, because that is always funny every time. I don't care how many times I've used the joke. It's you stopped my plans? How could you, 6 adventurers who survived everything else along the way, beat me? I'm a level 12 wizard, how dare you? What do you mean you know counterspell?
I love it. I love it.
I feel like, there's so many. I feel like my default voice for every single guard they come across is just like, hey, you made something, we'll get you something. You gotta get past this door, I'm not gonna let you. Or like every old man with a quest, like, hello, I'm going to die soon, and I'll give you this for the road. And the last one, because I know Nicole in chat will want it, the Raisin Boy. I think I did it last time, so I apologize to everybody's headsets. But the Raisin Boy, who's a child this is actually the only archetype I use in every game I play, which is just a child who's sad, because he just sells raisins all the time. I mean, what a sad existence. And he's just like, get rid of my raisins! and he wants to die. That's just a few, but they pop up every game.
Seth, are raisins like canonically very easy to find? Why is it raisins?
Honestly, they're not easy to find. He actually has kind of a commodity, but the thing is, no kid likes raisins. He hates the product he's selling. He knows he's not doing a service to people.
The NPC that I will always fondly remember was when this was a Pathfinder game, because I started in Pathfinder and now I mostly play 5th edition. There's a Pathfinder game, which anyone that's played Pathfinder knows there's some wild subclasses with some absolutely bonkers abilities. There is a witch archetype that is based around the witch from Hansel and Gretel. Like, all your powers are like candy and food themed, right? So you get a free familiar, but your familiar has to be made out of cookies.
Good.
I
I don't see the problem here.
And one of the properties of familiars in Pathfinder was familiars were like fully sentient and could talk to their owners, but only their owners could hear them, at least until like level 7 or something. There was a point where the familiar can talk to other people. But what always happened with this player was the familiar was like, eat me. I'm bleed milk. Eat me. It's just pain. Eat me.
Amazing.
Somebody
just
do it, please.
And everyone had to roleplay like, what's he saying? Don't worry about it.
I think for character voices, I tend to just kind of do my voice but a bit higher for a lot of characters. This one, it works pretty well. And there's different inflections of it, can do different things. I also kind of tend to do this voice, which is just a little more laid back tone and everything. But for some reason, this works for just generic assholes. I guess I just have a very punchable voice.
I wouldn't say that, but they're your words.
Harsh, man.
I thought you said punctual, so I'm like, why is everyone reacting weird? Give me a second, Rizzy said
On
punchable.
That voice just, I know he's gonna be on time. By the sound of it.
So look, when you look,
Thinking about it. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, for me, one of my favorite NPCs to pull out, and I usually do it when there's like a lull in the story and we're not too sure where to go next. I have this this faction in the game that's kind of like a thieves guild, and they're, you know, will canonically just create quests for people. And one of the members of this faction is this older gentleman who's like pretty small, pretty frail, and has extremely high dexterity and like can hide just about anywhere. And he has a voice like this, and he tells the brothers and the sisters of the guild about the next quest. And man, every time one-shots or introducing new players to the game, I bring out, his name is Scrub, I bring out Scrub, and he always like kicks off the role play. You know, it sets the tone for the game. I'm like, this is the kind of game we're gonna have tonight.
Nice.
Yeah, I love Scrub.
Scrub
A
has made me
scrub-filled game.
Scrub's already made me uncomfortable, so good job.
I just remembered one archetype I always have, which is weird guy with a cigarette who has to take a drag before he says something that he thinks is wise, but it's just random gibberish. So kid, listen.
Oh gosh.
He hasn't exhaled once since I started talking
Once.
to him. Just inhale.
You gotta
my
understand.
That's so funny.
That gave rise to one of my players' favorite NPC, Socksman, who is just a were raccoon who lives in the sewers selling socks.
Hey,
He was supposed to be a one-off joke, and they were like, he's gonna come back. I'm like, well, now he is.
Now he is, yeah.
yeah. An NPC in the Frostwalkers when you were doing campaign 1 was a wraith. The party had kind of allied themselves with this old ex-military wraith who now lives in the ruins of the military fort, you know? And when they first met him, there was all this build-up to all the intensity of, like, this character, and, like, oh, you know, and they had this very dark voice like this, and then someone asked if he could wear a party hat because they made them uncomfortable with their voice. And they were like, oh, I'm so sorry. And like used their magic to like spectrally form a party hat. And it's just like, it was completely black and white. It was completely opaque. It was a wraith. It was just like an extension of its shadow form. It's like, does this make you feel more comfortable? And they were like, no, thank you for trying.
We appreciate you.
Yeah, and Lothar became a campaign long friend, and like at the finale, he was at their side. It was great.
I'll
You know-
take on a form that your mortal mind can comprehend.
You know, I think it's always interesting, like, whenever you talk to somebody who's, like, getting new into dungeon mastering and stuff like that. Like, I feel like sometimes there's a bit of nervousness about doing character voices and NPC voices. Like, it's almost like a criteria. I don't necessarily think it's a criteria, but it does add some fun, and I think everybody can do at least one voice, you know, whether it's talking slow or faster. Not necessarily going full raisin, but you can, I think everybody's got a little voice they can do. So if you don't think you can do it, just I recommend taking a long shower and just screaming at the taps and stuff. That's what I do.
Yeah,
I might bring a chair in there too. So
That's gonna be my new expression now, is going full raisin.
never go full raisin.
Look, when you're home alone, you know that it's not yours. So
It's when you're at
that's what you
when-
practice.
it's when you're at the end of your life, the last raisin, when you're almost tried it.
I do spend a lot of time just walking around my house doing character voices.
Mm-hmm.
Because one, it's fun. And two, a lot of the voices I end up keeping are the ones that like. So I have ADHD, so I do stimming, which is stimulation stuff a lot. And there's a lot of voices where like if it's deep enough or raspy enough, I can like feel it in the rest of my body. I'm like, yeah, that's a stim. I like it.
There you go.
I have a 2.5 hour commute, so I get tons of practice on
Yeah.
the voices that I want to do. It's pretty cool. I can usually get them pretty well nailed down over the course of a thing.
I really like how. Oh, sorry, Luna.
No, I was
Go
just
ahead.
going to say voices are not a forte of mine. So the way that I tend to differentiate between like characters is more so in the like it might be the pace that they talk or the inflection or the way that they enunciate their words. Like I did a character for a one shot months ago, back around Halloween, and he was a wombat named Cornelius. He was the combat wombat, and he didn't talk a whole lot differently than I do because I'm like I have no idea what a combat a combat wombat's voice would sound like, but he tended to talk a lot like this, and so this was the way that I had to talk the entire night during the stream, and it was like by the time I got to the end of it I'm like I have to like get myself out of this because it was really bad.
I had a. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, there was one voice that had 2 different characters attached to it based on speed. In campaign 1, there was Caleb, my prince character. He was the main NPC, constant helper to the party, guy in the chair character. Had a lot of development with them. And then during my first ever therapy stream with the terrible party folks, I made a character named Jitter, and his name was Jitter because this was the first time I ever did anything on Twitch. And I made an Avarial Invention Wizard who just motor mouthed everything. So even though he talked like Caleb, he talked really fast and was really into things and was constantly trying to come up with new ideas, and that's how he talked. And so even though the voice level was the same, the speed differentiated Caleb and Jitter, which worked when they weren't in the same room. And then they were in the same room, and that was fun.
But I really like how, and we kind of touched on it already a little bit now, but I really like how, I think it was it maybe you, Ben, who said that it's like this criteria that people assume is something that a dungeon master has to have. But it's definitely not. Like, it's 100% not. And I think the only benefit to doing the voices, to me, obviously it's a lot of fun for me to do, but it creates a really clear distinction between when the game master is talking and when the NPC is talking.
Yeah.
So I think like any little trick that you can do, like you said, Luna, like speeding up your voice or talking, enunciating, pronouncing certain things more clearly when you're talking as one NPC or another, even if it's a small distinction, it makes a big difference. And it just made me think of like philosophically, do you guys have any other things that you can do to make that distinction at your table without changing your voice?
One character I had, which all of my players simultaneously loved and hated, was a gold dragon they met in like a dude's basement. Is like, this is my lair now. But the way I had him talk was I made sure he only, like, when I talked to him, I always had my hands up and I was always doing big hand gestures, which led to him over explaining everything. So it's like, listen, bro, I gotta tell you, I take great offense to you coming into my place, casting reduce on me. It's nothing personal, but I think I will have to kill you in self-defense now. Absolutely nothing personal, but you seem cool, but it's gonna happen. I'm absolutely sorry about that.
Yeah, there's totally some other things you can do. I actually wanted to jump on, do a follow-up point and then answer that question, which is sometimes accents can be problematic, and if you are concerned that the accent that you are going to use is going to be problematic, you should not do that accent. And instead, you should find a different way to inflect the character, even if you do like doing accents. There has to be a human behind that, or it's just a caricature. And I have several accents that I'm like, oh, I'm gonna base this accent on like this and this, and then I start doing it, I'm like, oh crap, oh that's bad. So I change it up and do it. One thing that you can use is like catchphrases and vocabulary.
That is true. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you can think about maybe this person uses short sentences and simple words. Either they just don't have a lot of vocabulary, or they just speak very brief. You can give them a catchphrase that if they just throw it in every few sentences or once a conversation, that can be a very effective way to make it clear who this NPC is, and what they're about.
Ben, I really like that. I mean, not to interrupt your thought, I'm going to
You're
totally
fine.
get it back to you. But I know you're saying this is something to like not have accents or not have what's the word? You know, like a voice for your character. But I find actually catchphrases make it really easy to keep your voice because
Yeah, that is true.
if you have like an
Um,
anchor catchphrase that you know how to say in that character's voice, you just keep bringing it back, and it's gonna make sure that you don't stray off into like a different voice. So anyway, that was something that absolutely catchphrases are a big one. Sorry.
No, super useful to for if
Yeah.
you're doing a voice to have an anchor. Very very helpful, but also like just having something that they say. I mean, there are people who have manners of speech that kind of work in all the time. I worked with a military recruiter. He would say "sit there" all the time whenever he's talking about what someone's doing. Yeah, he'd be like, "Oh yeah, this guy at the bar. He sits there, he orders a drink, and then he sits there have a drink, and he's talking to his wife, and she sits there, and she's like harassing him, and I'm like." You could say "sit there" like it's a comma, right? There are like people. So people
I know
have.
someone who does that with basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you don't want to try to struggle with a voice, you can just weave in little speech quirks, and maybe that'll work.
I've
Yeah.
said it before here on this stream, but not to this group, so I'm going to say it again. I played a character one time who was known for malapropisms, and so those are like when you say like when you mix up like two idioms, or you say, could you be more Pacific? Or, that sort of thing. And so that was very much like this character's thing, like you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him lay down, and just would screw stuff up like that all the time. And
Infuriating. Oh my god.
yeah,
I love it.
but it was so much fun, because it was like, I don't have to know the rest of this entire phrase myself as me, Luna, because they're going to screw it up anyway. So
I going back to Jitter, he talked fast and because he was just it was supposed to be because he's smart invention boy, and then somewhere down the line I went back in my brain to the first G1 Transformers cartoon and Blur specifically, and how he just went, and how the voice actor for him is known as like one of the fastest VAs of all. And then I just listened to that guy talk for like 10 minutes before the stream, and then I went on and just tried to do that. I just tried to go as fast as possible.
But yeah,
But I
that is
think-
true.
yeah.
Sorry.
I was gonna say, I think voices are good if you know how to do them and if you're doing them right. But I hesitate to say that, especially for someone new to it, like try it, but it's not a. People have been saying that people feel like it's a requirement. It is not a requirement to do voices, especially if you're coming into it and coming into yourself with that.
Yeah, and presumably you're playing with a table of friends, right? So if you make a bobo and you say a wrong thing, or you lose your voice halfway through the sentence, or whatever, laugh about it, laugh it off, and keep trying. You're only gonna get better at it.
For most games, it's not being recorded, so if you mess up, oh no.
Right.
And if it is being recorded, you can. If it's not live, you can edit it out. If it's live, sorry.
Oh, yeah. One person will be upset about it, and it'll be you.
Yeah.
That's it.
Only you. That's fine.
pretty much, yeah.
But I was going to go back to a thing Ben said with some accents can be problematic or caricatures if you're not careful. One thing you can do is if you don't want to do the accent, you can just say, this character has an accent, but I can't do it or won't do it. You can just say that.
Yeah.
Like Kenku, because Kenku's their whole thing is they're supposed to be like mimicking voices and things they heard. No one actually, well, I mean, sure, someone does, but most people don't want to sit there actually going like, I heard this sentence from that person. Like, don't do that. It's the most obnoxious thing in the world. Like, I wanted to punch myself in the mouth just now doing it.
I kind of want to do it now.
No, don't do it. It's just the worst.
I think it's really cool to. I like to study language in my time and stuff, and sometimes when I do, some accents to try and be a little bit, respectful to them, like say like a Russian accent, mixing in some actual Russian language, like "Здравствуйте" and stuff like that. Like not like characteristic, but like actually
Yeah,
mixing
yeah.
in some actual dialogue and words. I find also it helps, develop that accent if you're doing like voice work and stuff like that. But I find it's actually also really cool. And it helps me try and learn new languages too.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I love learning languages, but also no, I don't. I don't like putting in the work of learning a
It's tough.
language.
All right. So Jim the Dim has used the Ask My Question Next, and this is a callback to my admission of turning on notifications on Twitter. Jim would like to know, who is one person on Twitter you would suggest keeping notifications on for?
Call me they.
Yeah.
Ah,
Thirded.
stop it.
This is real embarrassing. I have one. There's a I have one that's real it's a Twitter page called Bean Pup, and it's all they do is this same little cute cartoon character of a little dog, and every day this artist just draws them in new situations, and it's just this little bit of like chibi art of this little dog every day. It just
Good.
only one a day. It's just like, this is nice.
Yeah.
Wholesome follows are good.
For TTRPG content, I would definitely go with Lex. I would go with Ben. If you're just looking for wholesome content, Thoughts of Dog.
Oh, definitely don't come to me for
I love-
wholesome content.
Yeah, don't go to
that.
Lex for wholesome content.
Don't
If you
do
want
that.
wholesome content, go to Thoughts of Dog. All of those are tweeted out from the perspective of a golden retriever.
Good.
Oh,
All right, I'll kind of like lean on the dog train here a little bit. There's this one account called "Can You Pet the Dog?"
Yes,
And it-
I love that account.
It's
Very good account.
It's just beautiful. It basically tweeting out whether or not you can pet the dog in various video games.
Yeah.
And like if they updated in a patch, there are some games that they've actually gone and patched in to allow you to pet the dog because the "Can You Pet the Dog" Twitter account got on top of them saying like, "Oh, you can't in this game." Anyway,
Yeah.
it's
that's
a
awesome.
wholesome account. You should go check it out.
But speaking of Ben, yeah, I'm gonna embarrass you now. Ben does have some very good takes on Twitter. Also, Ben and I, via Twitter, realized that we should definitely write a supplement at some point for TTRPG. We were gonna write a supplement of pantheons and gods to add to anyone's campaigns.
I saw that
'Cause-
conversation, and I am desperately waiting for the whole thing. So
One day,
I
one day,
I
one day
wanna
we're
do
gonna
it.
do it. Oh god,
wanna
I
do
really
it.
want to.
Whenever I post on Twitter, it's for two or three things. I'm either sharing just a random thing I thought about, or I'm like, hey, it was 2 a.m. I had an idea. I spent 3 hours on it. Here's a book. Like that happens a lot. Last weekend I was looking at MTG stuff, which is my guilty pleasure. I apologize. Magic together, my guilty pleasure. And the new set is Strixhaven, which is this cool magic school everything. And I was just like, man, the Guildmaster's Guide turned all 10 guilds into backgrounds. I thought that was really good design. I loved it. I was like, Then I blanked out, and then all 5 colors in the backgrounds on a Google Doc, and I was just like, well, just what this is, I guess. It is, I guess. It is.
I do enjoy Magic the Gathering, and I could go on a mini rant, but I'm choosing not to, about how the alignment system's awful and use the colors from Magic the Gathering.
Use the color wheel instead. I've done this with literally every character in my current campaign.
Just do it. Alignment's bad.
Color pie is good. There's an article my friend sent me that like breaks down the colors
I
for
know
someone.
the one you're talking about.
It has this, like it uses the tricolors as a little bit. Yeah, I've sent images of this article with people. Yep.
I think it was like a month ago. I like quoted that article like almost from start to finish because I mentioned I like the color wheel more than alignment. Then people started asking me questions, and like I basically just like copy and pasted the article on Twitter.
Yeah, that's what I did. I need to post that too now, I guess. But yeah, the every character, every campaign, I think about their colors, and this has tricked my friends into getting into it Planeswalker campaign will happen one day.
Planeswalker campaigns need to happen more.
They do. It's really fun. I mean, character creation, getting to pick your own play, getting to pick how you're starting these decks, and it's
Yeah. What was the question we had?
Right, yeah.
Who should you follow? Whose notifications on Twitter should you keep on?
Oh yeah, Luna.
No.
Yeah.
All right,
because
fine.
when
I mean, you can if you want to, but
because when I first started getting onto Twitter, because I didn't use Twitter until the pandemic hit, and I had nothing to do with my life. One of the people I bumped into, like within the first month of me being on Twitter all the time, in the TTRPG space, was Luna posting something wholesome like every day, and I'm like, what is this? Is this a person being nice?
it's kind of my thing, man.
I'm like, I'm here for vitriol. What is this?
I think I remember you commenting on something about it. Like, I don't even remember what you said, but I feel like I remember a comment about that.
I do remember vaguely making a comment about it. I feel like I was afraid you took it the wrong way, and I just never commented again. I think I bullied myself into never interacting again, in case I said something wrong.
The other thing is, if you're on the internet, you also need to learn to grow a thick skin. So,
Yeah.
you know,
I think though you gotta. I agree. Like, you know, I thought Twitter was just gonna be this toxic pit, this toxic pit of despair and sadness, which it mostly is. But I
the
think
view is great.
yeah, but the view's great. No, I agree. Follow positive people. Like I
Yeah.
think we mentioned even earlier. You know, Shannon of Paradise RPG. She's
Yeah.
great. She's super nice. David
Yeah.
Tolstra from Afar podcast.
yeah,
Great
he was
guy.
in chat a minute ago.
Yeah.
He had to duck off to help a roommate with something.
Was he?
Well, David, you're
Okay.
missing your shout out.
I've talked
You
to
get one.
Dave a couple of times, and it's always been great, but I don't get to talk to him often. So every time he just like shows up for half a second in whatever I'm doing, I'm like, Dave, come back.
Please,
I got
David,
you.
I need your
Yeah.
magic.
And
That's a
Waffles
run.
Maple and stuff like that. Like, I'm sorry, I don't know all their Twitter handles off the top of my head, so these are probably just names to you. but Google or Twitter or whatever.
I got to run a one shot for Philipar. They're great people.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love From Afar. Yeah, that
Yeah.
whole crew is really cool.
Yeah, they're cool. Ryan Mossbarger from Dice Populi and Run DMG. He's really fun too.
Oh, Super Dylan.
Super Dylan, yes.
Yeah. She's
One of the best
become she's become one of my better Twitter friends over the year. I've realized that I've ended up becoming better friends with a lot of like women and femme creators on Twitter with like several thousand more followers than me. And I'm like, I don't know how this happened. I don't know how I got your attention or why you think I'm worth your time, but I'm here right now, I guess.
All right, let's see. Next question. Scry Society. So we're going back to NPC and player tropes. What is your favorite NPC or player trope?
I like making characters that. It's a weird. I get it. It's a trope. But my favorite trope is, okay, is reading characters that I know or something, being like, well, this makes sense that you know someone like this. So, like, if, for example, my character is in a thieves guild, then I'll make 2 or 3 characters from that guild and like throw them at them and be like, here's these 2 people, you know? It's not so much a trope as much as a style. But when I make NPCs, I like to be like, okay, this is the thing you want to do. Like, this is the kind of character you want to make. Here's like 2 or 3 people that fit that mold. Also players. Also players.
I didn't realize this was a thing I really liked until I tried it in a campaign I joined this year. I love characters, be they players or NPCs, who you know are keeping a secret, but you're trying to figure out what it is. And I have greatly enjoyed being a player keeping a secret from other players.
Everybody like that though.
But like I made it painfully obvious I am not good. I am a bad person. And it's like, if you figure it out, you can blackmail me to the end of time, but I'm not gonna let you know.
I got two I like going with. I like himbos.
Himbos
Like
are good.
I like himbos.
Protect them. Protect
They are
them.
wonderful. Himbos of all genders.
Yeah.
I don't know if we've come up with any different type of bow. I'm down with. Especially if they use their bow energy to support the efforts of the other party members.
So I have
absolutely.
to ask, because we have somebody in chat right now who is a character on one of our streams whose character's name is Isabeau. Does that count?
I mean,
Is they a bow?
you need to live your bow truth. Is what you need to do.
And reminder, the criteria for being a himbo is kind, stupid, and hot.
Yes.
For those that don't know in chat, those are the three criteria.
I have a character in the Wildergear podcast, finally tying back the game I wrote, I have described it, who has one of the little attributes is baby himbo, or himbo in German. He's too young, too baby to be technically a himbo, but he's got like 2 and a quarter, 2 and a third. He's growing. He's gonna be a himbo.
A himbo in training.
Yeah, currently in school for
He's got the
himbology.
He's got the salt and his symbology.
Himbo, yumbo, he, she, weembo.
He's the smart,
That joke was bad.
He's got the lack of smart, and he's got the growing strength, and he's got the support. I love Asher very much.
I've always kind of had a lot of fun with the morally black or white character who has like a very strong stance on something. Usually like a paladin, for instance. You know, they have a lot of faith. They're gonna do what's the creed of their religion or what have you. But I go into it knowing that there's gonna be things where my character is gonna have a moment where they do the wrong thing, and so I have this facade of having it all figured out. The character thinks, yeah, I'm gonna follow this creed to a T, but then gets put into situations, and usually I try to tell my game master, like, okay, these are the situations you have to put me in, so that I can show this other side of the character, and then you can see like all the holes in the sponge, and all the other characters can start asking you questions, and I find it really rich for player-to-player roleplay. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, the Javert arc. I love getting a Javert in there. The party loves to prove them wrong.
Yeah, it's too true.
I think for player characters, my go-to trope is I want to learn the history of this world because I play a lot of homebrew games, and it's single-handedly the best way to get your DM to be like, "Oh, you're gonna have fun, kid."
Yeah. Well, I think going off that vein too, is like my favorite type of player arc or trope, I guess, is the fish out of water. I think it's like so effective. It's so fun because just as you said, like in a homebrew world where everything might be new, obviously you coming in as a player don't know anything about the world, so you can really embody that character with just your lack of knowledge. But also, I find it gives you a lot of free reign to be maybe chaotic lawful, if you will, I guess. Like you can mess things up, be stupid, and you can just blame it on, oh, my other world, or I was on the Feywild all my life and it was different there. I find it opens up a lot of doors.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, no, go ahead.
But now, thus you understand the appeal of the Planeswalker game.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that means every arc you get to do that again.
Yeah.
Speaking of fish out of water, that was actually my first character was a literal merfolk.
They did not live. They died. They drowned in air.
It was called reverse drowning. Not suffocation, reverse drowning. It was in Pathfinder, like I mentioned. I started Pathfinder, went to 5th edition, whatever. I'm not gonna tell my backstory again. So my first character was like, I have no idea what's going on. I'll be a merfolk so I can ask every question about everything. I don't know what anything is in or out of game. So fish out of water, very good term. I I was literally like a summoner, so my whole thing was like, I just summoned a big elemental to do things for me. Done. I don't know what's happening. Rockman, go.
They know more about what's going on than me at this rate.
Probably.
Okay, let's see. Let's see, another question. Yes, Aaron, CL Primus in chat would like to know, let's see, do you have a lucky die or dice set?
I have unlucky ones.
Right
I tell
here.
I don't. But I lambast my players when they send a D20 to dice jail for rolling a 1, because clearly it's recharged now. Like it just rolled a 1. It's not going to do it again, probably.
Yeah.
It's charged up. Like, use it for the next one and it's going to pop.
I had a player at my table once who would roll all of his dice on the table until they landed on the 1, and then he would leave them there until he needed to use them again. And I was like, what? That's not how that works, but okay, man. You do.
Look, that's superstition, you're bad.
I have names for all of my dice sets based on how they perform. All of them have names. This is the chosen one because what happened when I got this set, it was a birthday present. I opened the box, I rolled the whole set, every single die on the set rolled maximum. And I went, well, okay, you're going in the special spot for special occasions. So yeah, this one is my lucky die. It was a birthday present, and I love it very much. Mwah.
You had that already. That was
I think you got to roll it.
Oh,
I think you got to roll it and see what we get.
okay, no joke. It rolled a 1.
Yeah. I have a set.
Oh, damn it!
I have a set that I can't really call unlucky because I haven't used them before, but they aren't guaranteed to be balanced, so I am reluctant to use them. But they're super stinking cute because they're the key fish. They're the key fish dice from
Oh yeah,
from Greenleaf Geek.
Cool.
But because of the nature of them, they don't guarantee that they are balanced. So
I have 2 dice that I like a lot. There's this very light blue with gold trim one. It's got some little white flecks in it, and I picked this one for the first campaign that I did because it was at like the Tundra region. It was really fun. That's my GM dice map. The second one has a much stupider looking for this thing. A little more sentimental. It's blue and red because of this. So
ooh.
Oh, there it popped up.
oh, that's cool.
That's cool.
Yeah, sorry, you were lagging for a second. I was like, what am I waiting
I
for?
was like, did I miss it?
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool.
Was real.
Yeah, I just gotta rip my game against.
Yeah.
Oh, my cat is awake.
Uh-oh.
There we go. Just let it scream.
Consider ourselves warned.
Yeah, found it. So I do have an unlucky die. Its name is Pumpkin Spice. I bought it at Friendly Local Game Store because I thought it was the ugliest D20 I've ever seen in my life. So I had to buy it because no one else would. And this child returns my love and generosity with nat ones perpetually, without fail. So whenever I pull it, I go, all right, gang, the DM got pumpkin spice today. They're like, hell yeah, easy game. We're good to go.
Nice.
You got to roll that one too.
As was foretold in chat, just as not gonna lie, just rolled my lucky D20 and got a nat 20. So magic. I love it. All right, let's see. Next question comes from Nicola the Druid. Question: what moment in your games has made you cry the hardest, happy or sad tears?
I have a couple, so I'll go last.
I can tell you the one that made me tear up most recently.
Oh?
Yeah. So this is from Lawful Great Adventures. Now I cut this part.
I'm behind. Don't spoil. No, go ahead.
I'm not. No spoilers.
Got
But
my Kleenex just in case.
no spoilers. But someone died.
Oh no.
And there was a very quiet private service for the party and this major NPC's close friends. One of whom is the Otis, who we were talking about. He's the excited little boy voice that I do. And Otis was kind of traveling with this character, and like they were best friends, basically, like kind of a father-son thing. And so Otis, I started describing this private moment that Otis took for himself in the middle of the funeral, and I actually couldn't get through it.
Oh.
Yeah, I actually couldn't get through it. Took me about 3 takes, I think.
I believe it. Listening to the start of that episode, not hearing the piece that was cut, but just hearing the piece that was even there. I think I even put something on Twitter about the fact that I was like, oh my God, this can't be happening.
Yeah. I think the final product is actually a mixture of like usually I'll do one. I'll only keep one take no matter how it goes. But I think this is one that I actually cut up because I was like, oh, that part I can't get one contiguous.
Yeah,
I can't get the whole description out. So, but I got. But yeah, that was very sad. A funeral scene for a major NPC on the show.
Yeah.
There's one scene that happened like 3 years ago, which absolutely got me. Was so this player was playing a character because their first character died, which was the first time I killed a character, which already felt bad. But what he decided to go with was the character that died was the second character's daughter. And so the way that she died was the rest of the party had to run while she got left behind with like a cult of necromancers. So it was like, there's no way she's just dead. She's definitely undead something or other. So she became an undead earth elemental barbarian shenanigans thing. I don't remember what the hell I called her, but she was full on like Wrath of the Lich King, but rocks instead of ice. And the final fight with her, it was like a one-on-one dad versus undead daughter. There was like a floating fortress. They both fell out, and they finished the fight while falling from 5,000 feet in the air. Like, and they're just going bare knuckle brawling as they fell to their death. And he eventually won before he hit the ground, so he's able to put his daughter to rest, and then he died when he hit the ground. That one got me.
Wow.
Oh,
That's brutal.
that's why I left the road.
But then also there's an NPC who his player character eventually married at the end of the campaign. The NPC jumped after them, and she was a cleric, so she had Revivify.
Oh,
So she revived him when she hit the ground, but she didn't survive the fall. I fudged it so she could revivify, then die.
Wow.
Damn.
That's
It was like drama all at once.
Layers.
Yeah. All the other players were like elsewhere, fighting like hordes of undead, and they were like just had to watch him fall.
Well, there's something about that speaks to me a lot, Lex. Like I really find, to me, the things that hit home the hardest for me is when it's basically like a situation that you know it's coming and you've accepted it, and like this helplessness. To me, a situation of helplessness and like a character's realization of like, there's nothing I can do but accept this and make the most of this. That's when the feels start coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whew, that's something else.
Yeah, it was brutal, but also it felt like a good ending for her and him somehow. Like, but
it was right, but ow.
yeah, because it wasn't even like they were high enough in the air. I had to narrate like 3 turns of them falling, and that's the part that made it hurt. Because it's like, you're gonna die. Neither of you can fly. You're objectively gonna die in like 2 turns, and that's gonna happen. And I'm aware of it. and there's nothing anyone here can do to stop it.
Ugh, I'm getting the chills just thinking about it.
I said we can last, so if anyone else has one, go.
Sure, yeah, I got one. Spoilers for my show too, if you haven't listened. But basically, it was at the beginning of our season 2. We just finished season 1 of our show, and we were riding a high. It had a really good wrap up to that arc, and we were going forward in our campaign. The party had rejoined, and they were all stronger and more bonded. Everybody was riding highs. And then our bard, our tiefling bard's siblings came, and things got messy, and they've been hunting him down for years, and they killed him because the other players were away, and they were rushing to get there, but they couldn't make it in time. And they fought, and he died. But the thing about this character was that when he was making his character, he told me his character always thought that he was the son of the demon king of the universe, and he had no real basis for that belief, so it was kind of a comedic thing. And he always had this amulet around his neck, and essentially it shattered when he died, and he found out basically on the brink of death, in between life and death, that he was kind of a reincarnated vessel of that demon king. So it was kind of this thing, but he was in a coma, and he was essentially dead. And for all of season 2, this guy was dead, and the players would visit him on their airship all the time, and over the course, they'd just be like, every now and then they'd go and be like, how are you doing, to like a comatose body. It was always really emotional whenever those scenes came up. But then the perfect kind of mixture happened. This is where the tears came, was our druid is a Circle of Dreams druid, and they'd been becoming more in tune with the dream world and stuff. And essentially, they were guided through the dream world to his comatose state. And there was an incredibly emotional point where basically they were like upside down, and the lake was above them and the water, and they were standing on a rock face, and they were looking up through the lake, and they could see the reflection of the bard, that he was finally there, and they hadn't seen him for literally in recording times. This had been a year. Wow. Of real life gameplay, and him and the other player grabbed the horns, and they were pulling him through the water. It's an emotional scene. It's great music with it. And just as they pulled him through, they woke up, and they didn't know if they succeeded, and they had to go deal with this other threat that was imminent. And in the middle of that threat that was about to kill another one of the players, boom, out comes our bard, full demon mode, like lava skin, everything. He'd powered up, comes, just decks the bad guy in the face, like sends him flying, just absolute heavy metal shit. And he also the bard made in secret this epic, like, I'm back song, like a fully produced song that was like heavy guitar metal, and he's like, I'm back, and boom, and they would just punch them. It's epic. You can find it on our YouTube, just the song, if you want to hear it. But it was just so emotional. Everybody afterwards was just like drained in tears and everything. It was super cool.
Yeah, this
So good.
Yeah,
That's
season
amazing.
2 finale, part 1 and 2 for that lake and song part, if you want to see
So
it.
brilliant.
absolutely.
I gotta watch that show now.
it's heavy metal. It was
I
crazy.
like that you talk about music too. I kind of want to take a tangent on that, but I know that you wanted to your sad story, and I want to do one too. So I'm gonna try to remember that tangent, but go for it, B. Say your sad story.
Hold
first.
on, okay. For sure. I have 2, but I'll make both of them quick. One from Frostwalkers and one from Rogan. The Frostwalkers one was the party. So the party knew Caleb from episode 1. Caleb was my friend's character. He was the little ally NPC, good wizard prince, and him coming into his own and accepting being a leader, and also rejecting the title of king was a big part of his character. And in his past, he had an advisor, best friend, what have you, Yagana, and she pulled a sacrifice play in a big fight of things. And what I did was Anna's spirit was in the ethereal plane, and for 50 years that she was gone, she was planning Operation Break Out of Death and get back to protect her idiot boy again. And she pulled the characters in their dreams and was just like, hey, you don't know me, but you know someone. Here's what you gotta do to make this happen. And throughout the whole arc, her spirit was basically the guiding force, telling the party how to rescue her from death. This wasn't the part, like, she planned this out. her spirit was the one who moved all the pieces and tied everything together. And so at the very end, when they did the final steps and got her into play, that last session, that last artifact they needed to get, their encounter was this whole archetype and everything. And the theme of the whole episode was dealing with abandonment. Because this old tower had been left to rot for 15 years. And the magic in it made it like some kind of sentient. And it hated that it was left alone for so long. And then no one cared for it anymore. It's this old place rotten and withered away that used to be a school of mages, you know? And he was like doing things like moving the architecture around. And when the party finally found out the theme of abandonment, that's when it done like this whole thing was just Mama didn't want to be alone. And she didn't want to die because she didn't want to be without her buddies. And they pulled that into the resurrection ritual they had to do. And they were like, we're here for you. You were here for us. You got us out of so many jams during the campaign arc. Like, it's our turn. We're going to fight for you now. And the line I remember getting everyone was, you guys are asking me if I may return. I was just looking for the invitation. And they woke up and she was there. And she became a part of the party for the last arc of the campaign. She was a lich at first though, like the Bandolin, so they had to figure out how to get her regular body back, but then she was just on the team for the rest of the game. It was really cool. The World of Your World was much shorter. One of my players is a creative, so they're like a Total Warforged vest, and she finds out that she's a prototype and that the later models went on to basically be this world's superhero Power Ranger TV actors. And everyone loves them, and no one knows she exists. And so she meets one of her siblings for the very first time, and he's an asshole. He's just the worst. The frame's gone to his head. He's like berating her, just like, oh, and he says something like, your usefulness was in bringing us. Your role was to be the start of our greatness. Take solace in that and go home to the lab where you'll be safe and hide there forever. Because you're a prototype, you don't have the right parts, you will rust out in the rain. You're not meant for travel. Let us be the healers, but not. And the party, their mind scales is like the human equivalent of like 12, 13. She's a child. And the rest of the party are kids too. And they all hear this older, like, creative just rail on this poor kid, like, just be so demeaning and harsh. And they just band together and bully the crap out of him for the remainder of the episode. Just make him have the worst day possible. And at the very end, they're just like, Scales, we hope you know we will die for you. Don't even doubt it. That's not... Sandblast isn't your brother, we're your family. And she, like, this robot was like, yeah, you are my family. And it was just,
Games are emotional.
Yeah.
They really are.
Seriously.
And on that super emotional note, we're going to go to break.
Yeah.
Good.
So
My cat is.
everyone can grab tissues, dab their eyes, all that good stuff.
I'm gonna free the water elemental from my
We're going to
eye.
free the water elemental from our eyes this time. Yeah. And if you don't know what that means, we will teach you. Not right now, though. So we will be back right after this break. And so if we haven't gotten to your question yet, we will as soon as we come back, and we will go from there. So have a good break, everybody, and we'll see you in just a few. And we're back. Okay, Ray just used an Ask My Question Next that says, will TT Benjamin read us a poem, please?
Oh no. Okay. I didn't see that in chat, and I definitely didn't prepare anything. Let me just hop over to another window here. Oh wow, what's that? I had one up. Okay, here we go.
I love it.
All right. This is verse 4 from The Wasteland by T.S. Eliot, Death by Water. Phlebas the Phoenician, a fortnight dead, forgot the cry of gulls and the deep sea swell and the profit and loss. A current under sea picked his bones in whispers. As he rose and fell, he passed the stages of his age and youth, entering the whirlpool. Gentile or Jew, O you who turn the wheel and look to windward, consider Phlebas, who was once handsome and tall as you.
Well, okay then.
Wait, keep going. Yeah, I wasn't ready for it to stop. Keep
Right,
going.
I know.
Ray and I, Ryan. Speaking of collaborations deferred, Ray and I have a dream of doing a Twitch stream where we play a game. I don't know, Dark Souls or something, and then like we hot seat it, so we take turns playing the game, and while one person's playing, the other person just reads poetry out loud.
There you go.
In just like a smooth like ASMR style.
That's my kind of vibes. Yeah.
Poetry is the hardest game of all.
It's true. Yeah.
As
It's the
someone who's
Dark
been
Souls
exactly
of
the same.
poetry, right?
Yeah.
The Dark Souls.
Poetry.
Oh,
Here's my poetry any percent speed run, no deaths.
I'm gonna be reading all poetry ever made.
I sure hope there's no death.
oh, I love it. I would so watch that.
Not gonna lie, I never would. Not even a little bit. Like, I love you, but no.
Doing it with 0 deaths? No way. No way.
I would tell you I'd watch it, but never.
That's when you just put it on and then just go into lurk mode and like clean your house.
Yeah, I might do that for sure.
All right. So 2012 Wolf's Blood has a very important question. He would like to know if your character suffers an attribute affecting injury. I don't know, maybe like having half their face ripped off and their charisma drops considerably. Do you strive to regain that attribute score or roll with it and see what happens?
It depends on the character.
That would be my answer.
Because
Depends
I'm
on the system too.
Yeah, that's
Maybe
true.
We won't get into that.
Yeah, I'm currently playing a noble secret warlock. He says he's a sorcerer. But either way, charisma's important. He is full of himself. Not because he thinks he's hot, just because he thinks he's better than you. So yeah, he tried to fix it. Whatever it is. He'd sell his soul for whatever went wrong.
Yeah, it depends.
I think my himbo half-orc fighter, Garth Rakasan, who takes it to the limit all day and night, would not notice that there was some kind of a detriment. Garth would proceed as Garth proceeds, making no effort to fix the problem, despite the protests from the rest of the party. Like, Garth is down an arm. Garth will be like, I only need one arm. Like, I use a one-handed sword. Why do I need the other one? It's all good. Come on, we got monsters to kill.
Just glue the shield on. It's fine.
Fine, it's not a big deal.
Like glued to his shoulder.
Perfect.
It's
It's fine.
I've been doing one-handed push-ups since I was 5 years old. I don't need 2 arms.
Look, I was already right-handed. I don't need the left one at all. I mean,
But
yeah.
I like the question. I mean, it's. I'm gonna like maybe dissect it a little bit, and maybe I'll interpret it in a way that is not what you're asking at all. So correct me if it's wrong. But I think like that what I find interesting about the question is that, you know, there's an opportunity for role play there. There's an opportunity for narrative there. Do you take it? I mean, for me, that the question is like the answer is absolutely you're gonna take it. But some systems can be a little bit more punishing in whether or not a life-threatening injury like that has a long-standing consequence on your character. I've played a little bit of. It was a long time ago now, but I played a little bit of the Warhammer Fantasy roleplay, where it is a deadly system. Like, this is a deadly system, and there's critical. There's very serious critical injury mechanics in the game that make it so that if you get hurt by something that's very serious, that can stick with your character for a very long time. So I think to have fun with it and not just be like sour about the fact that your character is now not as optimal as they once were, you almost have to lean into it and make some roleplay moments out of it.
Mm-hmm.
I guess another part of the question is if this is a setting with robot limbs.
Hmm.
That makes
That's
sense.
a very, very good question.
Because
I-
robot limbs are cool.
They are objectively cool.
They are in fact actually in a fantasy setting. If the fantasy is high enough, you can just do golem limbs. A major NPC in my game got their arms cut off, and was allowed to escape. So now the next time this NPC appears, he will appear with like golden arms that are magically animated, and that's going to be a big problem for the party. 'Cause
Well,
they're the
now
ones
I
that
know
did it.
that.
Oh, sorry. All right. Well, maybe I'll change the material.
It's
Yeah.
all good.
Like, and then also it comes into the disability community with like role playing the disabilities in game, or like, because some people it's escapism. I don't want to have my disability in game. Other people it's I want to have it in game. So like,
Yeah.
it also depends on the player too. Because I know there's a lot of people who going back to the robot limbs thing. 'Cause a lot of them are like prosthetics are like, because prosthetics are what let them be independent.
Mhm.
Fantasy, cool Magitech robot limbs, 100% down. But yeah, I'm on like the periphery of that community because I'm like just accepting the fact that I'm disabled, and so I'm working through that. So there's a lot of that discourse I haven't gone through yet, but from what I understand so far, it's a very person by person thing and how they feel about representing the disability in a game.
That's a really good point. And it just because you have to take the context of the whole table into this too, right?
Yeah.
Not just it's your character. Are you comfortable playing with a prosthetic or not? Or
Which is
it's
why
one of those.
safety
It's one of
comes
those session 0 / session
Yeah.
multiple check-ins that you're gonna.
Yeah.
I would encourage.
Safety tools are very important for this
Mhm.
exactly.
Because like some tables and some players just wouldn't want that to be an option in the first place.
Yeah.
Like some players wouldn't want the character to be like, I don't think disfigure is the right word because that sounds bad. That sounds offensive somehow, but disfigured is the only word I can think of. Yeah,
Rendered disabled
yeah,
in some way. Yeah.
because once again, going back to some people that's more of what they already deal with in real life, so they don't want to do it again in tabletop.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, if it is something you want to do, I would definitely look into material made for characters with that in mind.
yes,
Like the combat wheelchair exists and is good.
right. Shout out to Combat Wheelchair.
Mhm.
Yes.
But,
yeah.
Yeah, I remember seeing that. Yeah.
But even beyond that, even if you look to other systems, even your other systems, because all the mechanics may be different, the concepts will be there, and just like systems that take the time to care about what happens to those characters and representing that real world thing. Well, if that's something you're going to bring to the table, maybe look into those things. I think.
Yeah.
Because that does change the whole thing. That does change the character forever. And before you turn it into some poetic whack, before you go full Phantom of the Opera, consider how the people will feel about it. Is all.
Yeah. And that's another thing for DMs in this situation where a player's gone through this. Talk to the player out of game and out of character, because this could be a huge thing.
Mhm.
So like, don't just rely on improv for something like that. This is
Yeah.
a huge deal in and out of character. For some people, it's reliving real world trauma. For some people, it's just making them role play something that they're not ready for.
Or
Because-
know about and don't feel comfortable representing.
Yeah. So discussions are important.
Yes. We play a game where you talk to people as a different person for like 3 hours at a time. If you can't talk
Yeah.
to the person as a person for 5 minutes, you're doing something wrong.
hmm
I really like that. That
Yeah,
it
that's really
very
good.
eloquently explains something, like in that one sentence B that I've been trying to explain to myself.
Yeah.
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 I'm
Yeah.
gonna remember that one. If you sit at a table being a fake person for 3 hours, you can be a real person for 5 minutes. Like
Mhm.
yeah, I'm gonna remember that one. Thanks, B.
Every now and then I get the brain cell for
It's my turn with the brain cell.
Uh,
Mom, why do they get 2 brain cells?
all right. Let's see. Braids Blades would like to know, do you have a favorite character voice if you do those? And if so, could you please describe one of their pet peeves in character?
Nice to meet you. The name's Slobberjaw Goodthink. At your service. They call me Goodthink because I'm a good thinker. You good?
I'll never be good.
He started as an NPC who was also a detective, but he also bred rats in the sewer.
Okay.
He bred dire rats. It wasn't a very lucrative business, but he had nothing better to do. It was more of a side hobby. Most of his business was being a sewer detective.
Okay.
Was
I like
this
it.
was this with the what was it, the were raccoon? Did they
Same
cross paths?
setting, different. Well, actually, now that I think about it, they're in the same. Oh no, they're in the same city.
Oh no.
I think you just
Yeah.
broke Lex.
Now that's gonna happen. You gotta make that encounter has to happen.
Yeah, there's a district in a city which was it was meant to mimic like real world like segregation and ghettos and like cities because if you didn't notice, I'm of color and I'm usually playing with people that are not. So explaining things explicitly is tiring, so I do it in metaphor, very obvious metaphor. So like the segregated ghettos were hobgoblins and orcs and everything, and to make it really obvious it was bad, their section of the city is called Plague Town.
Holy
Oh.
crap!
Oh,
Nobody
Hey,
named
you're
that
trying.
at the beginning. Nobody's like, "Oh, I'm gonna make Plague Town here." You know?
It's not even a section of the city. They literally went, "We're not using this section of the sewer. We're gonna just clear it out. You can live down there."
oh, no.
Oh man.
So yeah, Slobberjaw Goodthink was just a hobgoblin detective who lived in Plague Town, who would like sneak into the houses of people up above and be like, "Yeah, I figured out what's going on. Here's money. Also, would you like a complimentary dire rat?"
I love that.
I would die for him.
Yes, everyone loved him.
My favorite NPC voice is ultra powerful ancient dragon that is posing as a human and secretly running things from behind the scenes. Hold on, here we go.
Oh, back up, back up.
Mr. Hendrickson, it is good that you have decided to meet with me. My name is Tyrese. I am the Oracle. And then Tyrese winks with a coppery eye, and you know that they are giving you a little hint about their true nature. Perhaps you have noticed that the monarch of the city is absent. Well, I suppose that you have done enough work for me to this point that I can tell you that there is no monarch. It is me. And Tyrese's pet peeve is mortals. Just all of them.
All of them.
Same, obviously. Full disclosure.
Just can't stand them.
Look at them, just dying of old
Imagine,
age.
imagine aging couldn't be.
Couldn't be me.
Man, for me, I think my favorite voice to do right now, it changes, you know. But in our show right now, the gang has really taken to a Snake Man like personal trainer. And his pet peeve is weakness. And he's just like, come on, guys, we gotta get to the gym. Come on, do some reps. And he's like, I really appreciate you guys coming, but I need you to get in the zone, okay?
Oh my god.
Can't have anybody really slacking, because any of that toxicity coming at me? No, not in Apophis' gym, not in my house.
Apophis' gym.
Yeah,
I
Apophis
love
is his
that.
name.
I love
Oh
it.
my god.
You know, he was originally supposed to be kind of the mini villain of this small arc, this transition arc, and they befriended him instead.
Can we do a himbo one shot?
Oh man, I'm down.
Oh my god.
I think Monsters and Multiclass is something like that called the Swole Coast.
He would live there, yeah.
Yeah, I
Let's
don't.
go.
I didn't listen to it, but I've seen them talk about it. The Swole Coast. It's like, okay, yeah, I gotta listen to that at some point because the
I
name
love
alone.
Let's go.
Amazing.
I absolutely have a himbo lined up. He's
Do
the
you accept baby? Do you accept baby? Do you accept everything?
You always gotta have
Himbo
one
in
in your back
training.
pocket.
I have a himbo lined up. His thing is he's a barbarian with like a couple levels in warlock to be the one with the sword. Name
Hexblade.
Hexblade. Thank you. He's like, no, my sword. Sometimes it's just like, yeah, eat souls. I'm like, nah, dude, protein.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah, protein.
It's like, what do you want? The souls of the innocent. A bagel. No, 2 bagels. That vine is the entirety of that character.
You might scare Asher off from being a himbo after this watch.
Aaron in chat just said the best type of food is soul food.
You know it.
Oh man, I'm gonna take us on. You guys had some pretty like serious voices there, but one of my favorite NPCs is actually this like super nervous like librarian character who he was actually based in this central hub. We were playing like a pirate type campaign where there was this really rundown library on this pirate, almost like a headquarters. Let's call it a headquarters. And you know they were so proud of their library. So their pet peeve was that anybody that came in there and disrespected the books, that was just like, they went off. But they were just this gnome pirate character who was so upset. What do you do? You can't do that to the books. Get out of here. Oh, you gotta stop. And he like had this little bell that he would ring. And anyway, he was it was fun. He was a lot of fun.
I think it might be Howlaway. Howlaway was my character for campaign 2 of the Frostwalkers, and he had a voice like this. He was a bit of an angry man. He wanted to just live and do his own thing, and everyone kept asking him for stuff. Most of all, his patron, who was a siren, and annoyed the ever-living Howlaway. And I think his pet peeve, other than his patron, just every time she was around, he would watch his and his energy just down. It's the worst, because she had this very like, the DM played her to have this very like, seductive voice, you know, because she's a siren, and she would just like, stop doing what you're doing. I hate it. Stop. It's like, we've talked about this. We've had this discussion. Stop. This is a business thing here. You give me magic powers, I do what you say. That's it. Full stop. Period. Stop. And just, I think that was his biggest pet peeve and the best interactions was the DM just being like, going for it, just going the whole 9 yards of the voice, and just like saying things like, oh, you could do other things. And his response would be like, yeah, well, no. Good night. Bye. Closes the door. It's just like when you know someone's shit well enough that even when they're trying, you're just not into it. That was how they were in the Runners. He just did not care.
But I kind of like this concept of a pet peeve for a character, and often when I prepare my NPCs, I'll have like these index cards, and it's usually like a name if I think of it, and then 2 or 3 things that like define who this character is, and usually it's something that they like and something that they dislike. So and sometimes it's as ridiculous as like, well, this character really likes strawberries and really dislikes rain. And that's, it's just enough of a prompt to kind of kickstart it just in case, and make each of my NPCs just different enough. So I think I'm gonna learn from this and just add in a pet peeve instead of a dislike, and just make it like the thing that is the bane of their existence. Might add a little bit of flavor,
I love that.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Also, as a thing that I've learned to try and do is when people get nat 20s or nat 1s outside of combat or something, sometimes that could lead to adding lore to an NPC or something. I think one that I had was someone decided to like throw grapes at a character and nat 20'd, and I'm like, okay, he's allergic to grapes now, and he got it right in his mouth, and he's dying.
Oh no!
And that was just part of his character for forever. And he was a character that loved drinking, but he couldn't drink wine because he was allergic to grapes. Like that was a huge part of his character. Now it just happened to work out that
I love
way.
that. I love
And
that.
his son was the raisin guy, the raisin boy.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, the brutal irony. That's why he's so ashamed to sell raisins.
Just want a little bit of juice, please.
This multiverse is just coming together nicely.
Oh man.
Raisins killed my father.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, this is. I am never putting you all together in a room again.
What?
What?
This is the new show. This is the new format. This
Right?
is weekly now.
This
You're gonna
is
have to
it.
find a new night.
All of you clear off your Sundays.
I can't do
Take
it
it
every
over.
Sunday because normally Sunday is when I'm running D&D.
It's true.
Some of my players are in chat right now instead of because we're not playing.
I'm just saying, we talked about that Planeswalker campaign. I'm just saying.
I've been thinking about a Planeswalker campaign for like a good 2 years, honestly.
Yes, so we need to
Okay.
talk about this. You do need to talk about it.
Oh wow.
Man, I sit around thinking about campaigns I'll never get to run because I'm only one person. I don't have that
Yeah.
time.
Mm-hmm. It's just like in my head, I'm just like, oh, and then like, which stories do I play straight? Which ones do I like twist a little bit? And he's like, Calabash? Yeah, I can see the different. I'm on check play. Tower Devastation. They got a link to that.
Current campaigns that are just sitting in my head that won't go away are campaigns where everyone's the same class and think about the consequences of something like that. And like, if everyone's a fighter, is it a world where magic's just not a thing? Is that why they're all fighters?
Or
So-
are they fighters in a world where magic is totally a thing?
And they're the only ones
And-
without magic?
This is
The
the himbo
weirdos.
one shot we were waiting for.
Yeah, they're just a himbo in a world of wizards. Like,
Oh my
In a
god, this is actually a
world.
really great prompt.
Where-
Because I also have campaigns in my pocket that I just like will never be able to run.
yeah.
I want to run one where all of the characters are separate in the same city, doing a bunch of skullduggery, like a Blades in the Dark thing, but they don't actually know each other. They just kind of hear about each other's exploits, and then like the thing that one player does might affect another player's thing,
Yeah.
and then I sort of imagine them orbiting each other tighter and tighter and tighter until they all kind of finally meet up. I think that'd be super cool.
Definitely.
Each other.
Definitely a thing I would love to do. Because I had the idea forever ago, and I found a podcast that I think just stopped all of a sudden. I don't know if it stopped or if I just caught up or they're on a hiatus or something. But the idea was we're gonna do D&D, but we're gonna play the entirety of the MCU over again.
Oh, that's cool.
Wow.
I like that.
That's wild.
So each arc is just one of the movies, and so the cast is the same, but they're just a different MCU character each time they go to the next movie.
That's kind of cool.
That's
That is
actually
really
cool.
And I've been thinking about doing something along those lines, not literally the MCU, but the idea of like maybe a solo adventure here, and then come together for Avenger moment type deal.
That's really cool.
Also, small thing, movies become very interesting if you pretend they're based on actual plays.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If you-
man, TV, movies, you name it. Like anything can be a source for inspiration.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the YouTube channel that breaks down wizard battles in movies using D&D terminology. So they did like
thing?
Thanos versus Doctor Strange, and he's like, "Oh yeah," and then Doctor Strange uses a twin multi-spell mirror image, which would be a 9th level spell slot to duplicate himself over and over again, and then each of those mirror images casts a 9th level magic missile. But unfortunately for him, Thanos and the Infinity Gauntlet has like a spell. He's like going through all of like how it would look mechanically. I'm like, oh, that's pretty fun. And then
that's
there's
cool.
more videos.
You're gonna need to link that to me later, 'cause that
Yeah.
sounds
find
amazing.
it. Come find
That
it for you.
sounds really cool.
I like
That sounds super cool.
Oh,
I
you
saw.
guys- Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I saw a Twitter thread forever ago that was something like that, but the thread was going through a scene from Frozen as if it was a DM, like a solo session with a DM, like from Frozen 2 when she's like trying to tame the water spirit or whatever. Like the entire thread was going through that like it was a character rolling for it. I'm like,
Huh.
oh, that's kind of cool. I wanted more of that for more movies.
I can
That's
dig
really
that.
cool.
That's
All
clever.
y'all with your like super ambitious campaigns in your back pocket. For me, the one campaign that I'm dying to run, but I'm waiting to be able to do it in person, is like the most mundane thing in the world, where it's just this group of heroes who are asked, not even heroes, group of hoodlums who are asked to go get ingredients to make a pie for the town chef, and it's just them, and that's the game. Like I'm gonna make a little village where there's gonna be all kinds of like ridiculousness that ensues, but there's gonna be virtually no danger. There's gonna be, other than like maybe a really hot pie that they eat at the end and they burn their tongue. But I want to really lean into like the mundanity of everything. Is that a word? Mundanity?
You
Anyway,
just
yeah.
described Wilderness. I hope you know. But you just described the thing I read.
That's true.
Which, by the way, I hadn't heard of that just until today when you introduced yourself. I definitely want to check it out after. By the way,
Thank you.
how did it go out? Like how did it turn out?
Oh, not that exact storyline, but the like mundanity thing is
Yeah,
like
yeah.
exactly what it's based on. People can have magic and stuff, but like basically there's creatures, but there are monsters. But the rule for monsters in Wilderness is you don't hunt them. You work out their zoomies and then they calm down.
Gotcha.
So all creatures' aggression can be directly linked to them having too much magic. And when they're in like a magical overload state, they just get way more aggressive. And the role with monster helpers is to guide them, like get them out of the city, and then calm them down. So then
Sounds-
everything else is really
sounds like a great way to teach kids conflict resolution.
yes.
Like
Yeah.
this is the kind of thing I'd run if I was like a counselor of like the local school club with a name that I'm forgetting. Game club.
Yeah.
Game club. That's it. That's what I'm gonna say.
Okay. I'll get more to it another time, but I think there are a few more back pocket campaigns that we need to get back to flesh.
I feel like office worker campaign
Mm.
is now
Papers
what
and
I wanna do.
paychecks.
Yeah, papers and paychecks. No, for me, I did a one shot of it. I'd love to do more of it because it was just so fun. I don't know how well it would work as a full campaign, but it was just like it was kaiju. We did kaiju. Everybody was like Godzilla-esque monsters.
Mm.
It was so funny. Like one of them was like I forget what their name was. Their name was like Googobber or whatever, and he was just a giant worm, and he had like a cult following.
Oh my god!
And he would like amass his cult to do tasks for him, but he was just like it was like takes place on Earth. And he was like in the Amazon jungle, and he was just this giant worm. But it was awesome because the one shot ended with all the players like fighting each other. And they actually all killed each other. and the best part was too, like I was working on this. I gotta refine it, but it was like a little homebrew whatever thing, one shot thing. But it's like every time they did damage, it would be like, okay, roll like it was like roll like 300d something, you know. It was always like stupid amounts of numbers because it was just so funny, which made it hilarious because you could get like thousands of damage or like 10 so it was just like pure comedy. It's just a bunch of fun.
So at that point you were using like online dice rollers, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Going back to
Pouring like a
their
bowl
favorite set
full
of
of
dice. Their favorite set of dice is the Google random number generator, I think, because it gives them a lot of nat 20s.
There you go.
My back pocket campaigns for myself. Planeswalker campaigns on events. I tried to do it. I even tried one time. It kind of fizzled out, but I'm gonna try again. I wrote like 2 or 3 campaign books for Wizardry, and I've not gotten to run them with people yet. So, you know, I wrote them, so I wanted them. The Halloween one might be my favorite. It's the only book in the entire thing that has a bad guy, and it's this ghost mayor who wants to plunge the town into darkness. Yeah, very typical villain, cartoony stuff. And the party, his goal is to manipulate the party to do like little mundane tasks that inadvertently help his goals. But because he can't let these kids in on what he's doing, the task is go knock down that fence. And the fence, when it gets knocked down, has like a bunch of like dark magic drop from it and everything. Like, it's this man's farm, you know? But because the task was knock down the fence, the kids can stay behind and clean up and like return it to normal and thwart the mayor's plans and still get the reward because technically and all of the missions the mayor has the party do follow that line of logic. Each of them have the well, technically we did what you said, so you can do every mission in the game and still get the hero ending because you stayed behind and did the right thing after the fact, but you did still do what the mayor asked you to do. And that's how I just thought that was hilarious, and like the villain's characters slowly getting more and more irritated because they can't let the kids in on what they're trying to do, but they keep thwarting their plans. They can't say that they're doing anything wrong. It's great. Oh, it's great. The last one I want to mention is I got a dream campaign off the ground this year. A friend of mine was making jokes about like, man, the Shadowfell's just the worst. Like, the Raven Queen's got to get out of there. Get her out. And just, like, Discord chat just kept saying, get her out, you know? And I was just like, y'all, that's a campaign I do know. You know that, right? Like, I kind of chase this now. And then I do my Googling as I do. Turns out the Shadowfell was once the Queen of Shadow and made it worse by filling it with negative energy. And my brain went, so, in theory, there's a plane of positive energy. If they got artifacts from the plane of positive energy and brought them into the Shadowfell, could you undo the damage and then make it even better and turn into like the plane of like Twilight or something, you know? And then from that thought, I was like, that's a campaign. And then I just started, and the best part of it is I picked people who I've played other games with past campaigns and things like that. Because the Shadowfell does the upside down thing, it's like inverse versions of the world, you know, like Evernight is Neverwinter and all that.
Yeah.
And in my head, I was like, so I have to pick places from games we've played and invert them and invert characters that they know. So they'll go into like Shadowfell Tinchel from Camping Over the Podcast or like Shadowfell Cacopolis, and it's a very different vibe. And I'm excited for it.
Go for it.
It's such a I get to write. I write almost nothing new, and I just have to tweak a few things, and it's a whole new town. It's great.
So sorry. The kaiju thing that Seth mentioned, that reminded me of the thing that I've been talking about with. This has come up with multiple people multiple times where I've seen several people have the idea. It's like, I want to play a mecha campaign.
Gundam.
I want to play Gundam. And of course, what everyone does is, boy, I could just play another system, or I could heavily homebrew 5e like everyone else. Because that's fun. Don't system shame people. That's my personal opinion. Don't
Fair.
let
Yeah.
people play what they want unless it's somehow supporting something real bad.
Lion from Lionhead Gaming, I think, had a whole thread where he was like, "Yeah, I'm just gonna hack 5e to make it mecha. That sounds really fun."
Yeah. Oh, was that?
Yeah.
That might
That's
be one
basically
of.
what I did for the kaiju.
Yeah, that might
Yeah.
be one of the threads I've seen. Because, like I said, I've seen this same conversation like 15 times in different places over the last 3 years of just like, I want to mecha D&D. And the easiest way is the mecha is your class levels, and when you're out of the mecha, you're like a commoner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Level 1.
Level 1 commoner.
Go to
but
your
you're-
office job, and then at night get in your mech.
Yeah. I did have the same idea with a Mad Max game where your car
Ooh.
has the class levels in a
That's
Mad Max
cool.
setting.
Nice.
Oh, that
sounds
Heavy
I am
mod it, yeah.
oddly compelled.
That is something I do want to do. Maybe.
There is hold on, I can augment this. I think there might be a point buy hack for 5e where you actually just buy class features using points that you earn when you level. You could
upgrade your car.
yeah, so you're upgrading your car with this point buy, but it's not like you don't have a paladin car. You have a
Yeah.
mishmash car that has it can smite once a day and then cast first level spell.
Yeah.
And has
That's
a patron.
cool.
That sounds fun. Damn it! What have we created?
That's really cool.
So speaking of Mad Max, apocalypse stuff. Going back to, sorry, I'm talking so much. I'm just excited because we're talking about a thing I'm excited about.
Keep going.
So, I've had this conversation with Jared from Monsters and Multiclass because it was going back to the campaigns of all one class. An idea I had for Rangers was post-apocalypse, and it became very Fallout. But rather than radiation and mutants, it's magical mutations and radiant damage or whatever. And because it's a post-apocalypse, terrain doesn't have to make sense, you know? So favorite terrain can actually be, I don't know, useful. Because you can, it's magical apocalypse. There's an irradiated desert right there, but also a frozen tundra right there. It's cool. It's fine.
Don't worry about it.
I feel like the Eberron setting is one arcane reactor explosion away from being that.
Yes, yeah. It's just Eberron went full nuclear, and that's what this is.
Yeah.
Instead of vaults, it's conclaves.
Ooh. There's one other idea in the back pocket that I'm at against might actually work out. I was entranced by the idea of doing a show, doing a podcast, where the only thing that's constant is the one main character. And every other episode, this kid winds up in another game world. They wind up in for example, they wind up in another podcast. They wind up in another stream. And I would play the one shot as this random kid, this chronomancer kid who thinks they're time traveling. They don't know what a planeswalker is. They think they're time traveling just throughout their world, and they're going solving all these problems and such. And then play the one shot as normal. The other person would get to put up the one shot as normal. But then I take that on there, and then at the beginning and end, do little scripted vignettes, and then put it out as a season long. Like it's a fourth show within one story.
Listen, what we're saying is we need more planeswalkers in D&D.
And time travelers. I can accept time travelers.
Time travel, while fun, is scary for D&D
Lore and
specifically.
Yeah.
It is absolutely horrifying as a DM. Is like, but what if they change what? Oh no.
Yeah.
I
Forward
did a
time travel, okay. Backwards, no.
I did
Yep.
I did a dungeon that had it was a two-phase time travel. You could be in the past or in the future during a specific point, and I had to
Oh, that's cool.
I had to like stack it with so many rules, and
Mm.
then finally at the end I was like we're like halfway through. I'm like, look, guys, if you're trying to cause a paradox, I'm just gonna say it doesn't work. Like, please stop trying to do this. I'm just gonna say it's not gonna work.
Not allowed.
You can
That's
do
a cool
some really
concept.
fun stuff with time travel, right? Or even like visions or psychics, that kind of stuff. There's a lot of really fun narrative things that you can do where it's like, oh well, you see this, so now you have an objective for your party to go towards. Just because you saw it doesn't mean it's going to happen. You know,
Yeah.
that was one timeline into reality. It can really have a lot of fun consequences to kind of fiddle with as a game master. And even as a player, in the player's seat, if you're someone who is role playing a character who's seen the future, man, you got all kinds of fun opportunities to share that with everybody at the table, to like express doubt about if I tell them about it, does that put me in a new reality where we're not going to make it anymore? You know, all that
Right.
kind
The,
of
the
stuff.
second you say it, maybe you're speaking it into existence.
Yeah, exactly.
The trick I've learned with good visions is to put it next to where you think the players will be. So like in the same location, but definitely like you don't want them to be in the room where the vision is happening, because that's like impossible to line up. And then you anchor it to some kind of a sensation, like a smell, or like there's like a gunshot in the distance, and then but it's happening elsewhere. Like the vision might be like, oh yeah, you see the bad guy walk into the bed chambers with a knife in his hands, and he's going to assassinate the king. Like that's the vision. And also there is a strong scent of lavender in the air for whatever reason. And then you hit the players when that time comes to enact the vision. You hit the players with the, oh yeah, you have a feeling of deja vu and you smell lavender, and then just watch them panic. Just watch the chaos.
And you have as many
Evil.
false alarms as you want.
Oh god,
Oh,
yeah.
you could red herring the shit out of that.
I've never had in any game I've run. I've never had a player or like a character who had any kind of visions of the future ever. So I've never actually had to deal with that situation. Though I have multiple times had to deal with seeing things in the past because actually the same character from the story I told earlier with the fighting daughter as he fell thing. His one of his class's main abilities was when he touched a weapon or a piece of armor. I think it had to be related to like combat. He could see the history of that item.
Oh, that's cool. I need to steal that for him. I can.
So I had to spend a lot of. So whenever they looted, like I find a knife. What does the knife tell me? Ah, I don't. It's nothing special. It's just a knife. But what does it tell me?
I want to know the 15 lives that were touched by this knife.
You
And
need to have one of them just be a man who used it for bread. Like, just,
right.
Yeah, it's been like 500 years of like cutting bread. Just
So, one time I did use it very well, and everyone like got mad at me for doing this. Where I had a villain who knew about this power and like basically recorded a video on the knife.
oh, that's really smart.
Oh man.
super cool.
It's like, hey, nice to see you. Peace. Later, you fell for the plan. If you're seeing this now, your friends are dead. And like,
I killed him with this knife, actually.
I'll let you watch.
All right. Well, unfortunately, it is that time.
Oh,
We
no.
need to start wrapping up. I know it's already been 2 hours. So
has it?
It has. It is 5 minutes until. So we gotta wrap it up. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have everybody go back around one more time and just remind us of who you are, where we can find you around the internet. And Ben, we're gonna start with you.
Hey, if I drag this out, we could be here forever. Just everyone keep the conversation going and just talk over me. I'm going to do this really slowly. No.
Just some more poetry. Just a lot of poetry.
Yeah. So, I'm Benjamin. You can find me on Twitter at TTBenjamin1. You can find my show, Lawful Great Adventures, at great_lawful. I hope you all go and listen. We are in the home stretch for our first campaign, currently on probably one of the most brutal death march dungeons that I've ever run in my life. The party is shaking in their boots, getting their butts kicked over and over again. It's a delight. I'm getting a lot of my frustrations out. It is my show is a Pathfinder First Edition actual play podcast about four friends on a long journey home. It's narrative, immersive, steeped in lore, good acting stuff, some like halfway decent production values when I feel like putting effort into it. I love it. I'm proud of it. Yeah, oh please. I love it. I'm proud of it. I hope you all take a chance and go listen to it. And how many hours long is it? It is about as many hours as your last Witcher 3 playthrough. So if you want a lot of content, Lawful Great Adventures. I also play Jay Bravaljian on Ripples in the Gray right here on Shared Experience on Tuesdays, and I play Red Iron on Roll for Chaos's Sparrows. So, TT Benjamin at great_lawful. Cheers.
Thanks. All right. Yes, the Lawful Great Adventures podcast is totally worth your time. So, go listen to it. Like, we'll finish up here and then you should go start it. So do that. All right. And let's see. Next, we'll go to Seth.
All right. Yeah, so Seth is my name. I'm the DM for the Cheaper by the Dungeon podcast. You can find my socials at Twitter at SethCBTD, or you can find my show, Cheaper by the Dungeon, at Cheaper Dungeon on Twitter. Also, if you looked at that pinned tweet there, we actually got new merch. We just started. New merch. That's not the only one. We got cooler ones than that. So even if it's not all show related, some of it's like Tiefling and Ranger and all that stuff. So even if you just like D&D in general, there's some good stuff in there if you like it. Yeah, you can find my podcast anywhere you get podcasts. It's a show all about treasure hunters and treasure hunting and our three main players scouring the lands looking for the greatest treasure of all. Not friendship, I promise me. It's not going to be friendship at the end. It'll be something.
It'll be love, right?
Yeah, well, love and friendship. Spoilers, but no, we also do musical numbers throughout the show every now and then. And actually, we have 3 seasons of the show right now. There's catch-up recap points before each one, so if you want to hop on at any point, you can. And we're just entering into a new arc with a magic kingdom of floating islands, everything. And there's an actual song leading into that arc. So tune in Tuesday if you want to hear that little song we made. And we have fully produced musical episodes too. So if you want just a one condensed, one shot little thing of our show, it's almost audio drama like. Go listen to our summer musical or our Christmas ones. There's a bunch in there. So something for everybody.
I love that.
Yeah.
Oh.
You said floating kingdom, and I'm hooked.
There you go.
Only thing a D&D player wants are things that float that shouldn't be floating. I saw that tweet earlier.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, probably by the end of the arc, it's not going to be floating anymore, knowing the my crew.
I was gonna say the only thing they want are things that are floating that shouldn't be floating, and armor that has pockets.
Yes.
Armor needs pockets.
I'll never give them it. Yeah. Thanks, everybody.
All right, Matt, we'll go over to you next.
Awesome, thanks. Yeah, so I'm Matt. I'm half of Roleplay Chat, which is a bi-weekly, so every 2 weeks, deep dive discussion podcast on tabletop RPGs, roleplay. We dissect a random topic or a topic that's, we're interested in talking about that week, and we just really talk about it to death on our podcast. You can find us wherever you listen to podcasts. That's Roleplay Chat. That's ROLE Play Chat. And it's not sequential. You can listen to any episode that speaks to a topic of your interest. It's system agnostic. So we try to focus on things that can apply to whatever system you're using from the game master's perspective or from the player's perspective, or sometimes from a little bit of both. Trying to get guests on the show, and now that I know all of you folks, I'm gonna try to get you guys on the show, and we'll talk about something. I felt called out by Ben at the beginning of the show where he was like, "If you have a talk show, you better invite me." So anyway, yeah, we'll try to get you guys on the show, and I think it'll be a lot of fun. And I'm on Twitter as well, where I tweet all kinds of things. I like to tweet polls that shouldn't be polls to get a reaction out of people. It's a lot of fun. So that's roll_play_chat on Twitter.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Matt, for coming to hang out. Lex, we're gonna head over to you.
Hey, I'm Lex. You can call me they pretty much everywhere on YouTube, on Twitter. I have a Patreon, which is branded as Wizard with a Gun. I make videos for mostly D&D, though I am starting a new series in the next couple months, maybe. Uh, my current series is Backstory and Chill, which is speed drawing content with my artist friend who likes to stay anonymous. As I narrate and tell a story about a character and give ideas for DMs and players alike. And my new series is potentially for the World of Darkness. So Backstory by Night. Um, it's a dumb name, but I can't not use it. And I hopefully have a new video coming soon, which I did with Shannon Robbie. You know her probably if you're on this channel. She's a good friend of I think everybody here. I think.
Yeah.
She's not your friend. You're doing something wrong, frankly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. She did the narration from her next video.
Nice.
Should be
That's
cool.
exciting. Well, thank you for coming to hang out, and it was a pleasure to get to know you a little bit. And B, we're gonna head to you.
Hi, yes, I did. Look, we talked about really cool things. I didn't plug as much of it, but that's what I say. I'm B. I do I made a whole RPG system called the World of Warrior. It's really cute. My partner Frank has amazing art for it. They made the covers. They made the art. The fun fact, that whole core book, that whole 30-page core book, written in a weekend bender of just world building and exciting ideas. It was a lot of fun. That's also why there's no combat. I say it's because I like wholesome content. It's because combat's hard and I'm lazy. So you lean into the flavor you like. But it's a game just about traveling. You go to different places. We like setting up cool. I like running cool landmarks. You get to make cool landmarks for you and your player as you go around this cool magic world, and just hang out and be friends for once. Without imminent fear of death, you know. There's a podcast that I do with some amazing people like Crow, Midnight Blues, Curious Little Fox, and friends of mine. We run the system, and I take their characters through the world. It's a really fun time. The whole game is free on the Google Drive link. I can literally just DM me for hey, I want to play this game, and you'll have multiple campaign books, one shots, everything on the Google Drive link because publishing is hard and I'm lazy. And also, like, it was 2020, I was like, man, escapism shouldn't be paid for. That asterisks, please buy other indie developers' content. My escapism shouldn't be paid. But other than that, I just like doing TTRPG-related things. I did the Flash Lovers podcast first campaign. I'm hoping to bring it back from a very long hiatus for something fun. That's that. Oh, I might be doing some streaming things soon. I don't know about that. I might be. My love for all things card game might get involved. And I also just am working on other various things. If you follow the World of your Twitter, that's basically my personal, and you'll see my 2 a.m. ideas. It's just like, hey people, what you all like this idea that I just had? Yeah? Okay, give me 20 minutes. Okay, it's done. It's kind of how it works.
All right. Well, thank you all so much. This has been such a great conversation. I knew this was going to be a lot of fun, but I appreciate all the laughs very much, and I know chat enjoyed it too. I am Gamer Mom Luna. This has been Tales from the Tavern. We're here every Sunday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific, with a different group of guests every week, and all of the questions come from chat, so the conversation is never the same twice. You can also catch Benjamin, like he said, on Tuesday nights, also at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific time on Ripples in the Gray, which is our Star Wars Fantasy Flight game. And on Wednesday nights, we have 50 Shades of Crimson, which is also a Pathfinder First Edition campaign. And we don't know what's going on. The city's on fire again. That's about it. That's about all we know. So that's also at 8 p.m. Eastern, if I didn't say that. We are going to we're going to go raid a channel called RPG Academy. They're playing some Dungeons and Dragons tonight, so we're going to go over there and say hello and thank you all so much for coming to hang out. We will catch you again next Sunday night.
Bye.